Hello, welcome to the Oikos Family Podcast, episode 37. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm thrilled that you did. I hope that you were able to listen to last week's podcast, our first of a series about orderliness, being October. And in actual fact, I think even in September, I shared briefly about how we've, through our home education years, we've taken each month or each season and made a theme out of it. So September for us in South Africa is spring. So we made a theme of spring in September, but it wasn't actually focused on spring cleaning because September for us is a happy, joyful time of all the flowers coming out, and we focused on that part of it. And then in October, we went into the orderliness, and that's when the spring cleaning focus was through the month of October. And so today I'm continuing on this theme of sharing with you about the value and the gift and the treasures to be found in keeping order and having an orderly life. And you know what I read the other day? I read this. It says, "It always seems impossible until it's done." And you know who said that? Nelson Mandela, our dear, darling, late president. Nelson Mandela said those words. It always seems impossible until it's done. So I wanted to encourage you with those words to say that if you happen to be in that position where you're struggling with order and you would like to see a lot more order than you do, and maybe you just feel you're up against it, maybe you just feel there's chaos around you and you've tried to get order and it just doesn't work out, I don't know, maybe that's your situation. Maybe your situation is that you've got incredible order in your home and this doesn't apply to you. And then maybe you can help somebody else to get order in their home. I know that that's how I felt when I went into a friend's home that was really, really crazy chaotic. And I had to be very careful and sensitive in asking her if she would mind if we had, how she would feel about us having a project day where I could perhaps help her with some order ideas and planning and organization. And I shared about that in the previous podcast, and it actually turned into a very fun project, and there was some incredible fruit and value and results from that. And so today what I wanted to share with you is just to encourage you in the area of this orderliness, in that you might be feeling that it's impossible, but that's why I started with Nelson Mandela's words, and that what seems to be impossible, it looks impossible until it's done. Well, that's what happened with the story I shared in episode 36 with the project of orderliness that we had going at this friend's home. It really did seem impossible. It looked impossible. She had a lot of, has, in fact, got more children now than then, because this was a long time ago, but she had 5 children then at that time. And she was really struggling to keep up with orderliness because it was just crazy. There was craziness around her and chaos most of the time. And after we had focused on this orderliness and these projects that we were doing, bringing order into her home, it blessed her so much. And she actually managed to get on top of it. And she actually managed to keep that order in place because we put certain practical steps in place to make it doable. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, is it is doable. It really is. In fact, I put a little video up on our Oikos homepage about one of the top 10 fears that are the little series, top 10 fears. And one of them was, I don't feel organized. I'm afraid that I'm so disorganized. I don't know how I'm going to do this homeschooling thing, was one of the things that we heard come up a lot when I was asking mums about what is the thing they're most afraid of. And that was one of the things. So I had a little video and spoke about that and did this very quick illustration on the desk at the table that I was sitting at, and I just made it look very untidy very quickly. And then illustrated how one can bring order quite quickly, quite easily. But what makes it feel insurmountable is when you look at the mountain. But if you just look at the step in front of you, and you just take one step at a time and you take it one little area at a time and just get order there only. You know, even if it's just one drawer in your kitchen, that every time you go to it, you have to dig and scratch and you can't find anything and it takes you so long. Well, even if you just got order in that one drawer, by changing a few things, such as you empty the drawer out, you decide what's going to go back into that drawer, and you put it into a container inside the drawer. We found this really works for us. I don't know if it'll work for you, but we have containers inside the drawers in the cupboards. So like even, plastic tub or a little basket of some kind, and you put that into the drawer with the bits in it that you have decided are appropriate for that particular container. Now, it might be that you say, well, actually, I don't have space to put containers inside drawers because your drawer's absolutely bursting at the seams and there's only one drawer. You don't have space for the other. Well, I'm going to suggest that you empty that drawer, you put back in it what helps to keep order. In other words, if you put everything back in it, just back in a shambles, it's going to be hard to find things. And so this is what I've done. I put back into the drawer what works in that drawer, and then if there was too much for the drawer, I didn't have space, then put it into a container that stays outside of the drawer, and then fit a little shelf above the drawer or have that container in a different place. So you still know that that container now, say, for example, has all the spoons, the serving spoons and the wooden spoons and everything that's spoon-related. So now when you need a spoon, you go to where that container is. It might not be in the drawer with all the other bits, but you know where it is. It's on the pantry shelf, or maybe you don't have a pantry, or maybe it's just in one of the cupboards, on a shelf in a cupboard, but it's in a container on the shelf in the cupboard, because obviously you can't put spoons on a shelf in a cupboard because it's going to just be wasteful. The space, the area is going to be wasted. So you put them in a container on the shelf inside the cupboard. This may be just totally stating the obvious here, and I'm not sure if it is that to you, or if these ideas are something that you can use. But I'm just sharing them with you because of our theme being orderliness in October, and because we have discovered ways throughout the years of doing the smallest little step that actually makes the hugest difference. It makes such a big difference to our daily living to have order in that area. There are blessings in many ways for doing this, and that is something I would really like to go into. But just right off the top, the blessing is the time that it saves. That to me is one of the biggest blessings, because, and oh no, not just that, it's not just time, the actual physical time, but it's the peace that it brings. Because when you go to get something and you've got to hunt for it and you've got to scratch for it and you can't find it, and it can get a person flustered. But instead of taking time, wasting time and getting flustered, there's fruit. There's the one kind of fruit you can have, or you can have the other where you've saved time and you have peace. So what we found is that when we apply these tiny little things, that they're not even big, put your spoons in a container, they make such a difference. And so I get excited about, the smallest action can have such a huge effect on not just as the parent or the mom, or getting through the day, not just our days and our peace, but actually our children's as well. Because if you think about it, if you're at peace and if you're not having to struggle to find something because it was put back in its place, which we called its little house, we put things back in where they live or back where they stay. And if the family learn this trait, this characteristic of orderliness, and if you're practicing it, like I shared in episode 36, practice being orderly. If you're practicing it all the time, it blesses you. It blesses your whole family. There are many blessings that come from it. And then it doesn't just start to bless you, for starters, and then your children and your family. It actually blesses people that come to your home. It blesses others that see a picture of order. And you feel so much better about it because, let's face it, if somebody unexpectedly arrives at your home and you feel uncomfortable with the fact that that the house just looks like it's had a hurricane go through it, for example, you're going to feel uncomfortable with that. Well, maybe you don't, or maybe you do, I don't know. But I'm just saying, when a person can come into your home and you can feel comfortable to start with, you can now feel better equipped to be the hostess you want to be. And that is an example that you can be to that person and to your children. And why not? Why not be comfortable? Why not feel more comfortable and more at peace and more prepared and ready to be the hostess that's going to be a blessing to others, to your children, to your husband, to your neighbor, to your friends. So, thank you for listening to this podcast. I really hope there were just a couple little ideas there that are going to help you. And if you are one of those people that already have found the blessing of orderliness and are able to be organized, if I can encourage you to help another, because a person who isn't feeling organized or isn't feeling orderly, it's a very unsettled place for that person. They don't feel comfortable with it generally. That's what I've found. And sometimes, in fact, one of the moms at one of our moms retreat was actually feeling so ashamed about it and embarrassed, and she didn't want to talk about it because she said she's so disorganized, and that's how she was sharing about it. And she really had tried various ways to get order, and she says she just fails. She doesn't know why, but she says she just feels scattered, and it's a real struggle for her to get order. And that's why I shared in episode 36 about how I came alongside my friend, because I could see that she was overwhelmed and she just wasn't on top of it. And she was so grateful for getting some assistance and some help and a helping hand to get her to a place of order in her home, and how much that blessed her whole family going forward from there. So if you are one of the people that are listening that has already found the treasure and the value of being orderly, please understand that there are some that actually really struggle to get there, and it would be wonderful if you could help them. And if you are listening and you haven't actually found this place of order in your home yet that you would really like to, then I hope that this podcast has helped you in some small little way where you can just start applying a few things and just begin getting this orderliness into place, because why not? It might feel like it's impossible until it is done. Quoting Nelson Mandela again. And then when it is done, you are blessed. So do it, is what I say. Just get on and do it, because why not? You can have fun doing it, actually, as I shared in episode 36. We had an enormous amount of fun with this orderliness project that we started that became Orderliness Practice. Okay, so thank you again for listening and sharing this time with me. I really appreciate it. Bless you. Have a lovely, orderly week. Be blessed. Until the next podcast. Bye for now.